Well, good evening, friends and family, all my epic brothers and sisters with your lives, your personal grievances and happinesses. And I'm coming to you live from my backyard, the Carpo After Dark series. Of course, as I start speaking, my dog and my cat start walking up because they think I'm speaking to them. After I walked out the back door, I walked around in circles looking for a place to set up my camera, and I realized there's just nowhere quiet. There's nowhere, not just quiet, but private, and I thought that would be a good subject matter to talk about, I guess, but not privacy so much as the degree of sacrifice that we make in our lives in order to be happy, the roller coaster of life, so to speak. Now, each one of you, each man and woman, finds their own place, find what works for them. Perhaps they find a partner and get married and have kids. Perhaps they find a partner and just travel the world and never have kids. Perhaps they choose to live singly. Perhaps they have a partner of the same sex. Or perhaps they wander off to be a monk and take a vow of celibacy. Each person chooses their path according to what they think is going to bring the happiness for themselves. Now, this is kind of a root philosophy of life. Regardless of which path you take, even a path of sacrifice or a path of service, in the end, the hope is that it brings you gratitude, or I should say brings gratitude toward you from the all, or from the universal. And it's not a matter of getting good things or a matter of good karma, but rather just a matter of we want to do our best because we know it makes us happiest. Regardless of where that feeling comes from, it's more often than not a symbol of our work and efforts. The less work I put in my life, the less happy I am. There are ways to get around feeling happiness through doing service and doing work. And one of those is finding passions and excitement through art and music. Those are forms of service. There are other addictions which bring that happiness, which can be things like drugs and alcohol for some people. And for other people, they become attached to certain, ideas or practices, which can be very healthy or damaging to an individual depending on how they use it. Substances, for one, can be used very respectfully. I had a person ask the other day, it was a comment I received on one of my videos, and it was an older video, and he asked about cannabis, and he said he noticed some people get anxiety, and that maybe it's just not for some people. I don't think it was even about cannabis. I think it was about valerian root. And I was saying that, one thing we overlook more than the way that particular ideas, behaviors, and substances affect the individual, depending on their chemical makeup, their brain and body. On top of that, there are other factors, including when they take it, what time of the day, what they're trying to achieve, what other things that they've taken or done, and very importantly, the dosage that is taken. Now, I'm using this as a metaphor for everything. When I say the dosage of a drug, a person may, say, take one hit of cannabis and feel a good buzz. They take two and they start to feel too stoned. They take a bunch more and they start to feel anxious again. It's a curve, and each person has their own level. And with many herbs, it's this way. And it's not just herbs. You can use that metaphor for, say, practices. If a person has a certain amount of service and practice in their religion, it'd be a very beneficial thing for the person. But if they just put on a facade and don't use very much, or don't put in very much work, they might not get enough out of it to make it worth their time, or it may just be kind of a joke for them, such as thinking that going to church on Sunday and, being a jerk the rest of the time is sufficient, for a good life, which a lot of people seem to believe that. And so putting in the work is important. Then there are people who put in too much work, just like the people who consume too many drugs, the excess. These are the ones who become very excessive in the things they do. Now, there are exceptions to this being a negative thing, in my opinion. There are some people who have consumed large amounts of drugs and seem to benefit from the insight it's given them. However, it always seems to be detrimental in the long run. However, I can't compare that to, say, a person becoming a monk long term. That could be a very beneficial thing for that person. However, it could be detrimental if they're the kind of person who desired to have a family and wanted to create a life for themselves differently. So it's only if the person knows in their heart what they truly want that they can feel like they're adequately fulfilling their desires as a human being, to be who they want to be. Not what society deems worthy of you, not what you want your parents to think of you, and definitely not what you're learning on the television or in books or anywhere else. Ultimately, all of this knowledge comes down to what's in the heart. How do you really feel about the things that you're doing and saying? And what do you really feel about the things that you claim? Do you believe what you say? And I ask myself these questions. I say you, but I should say me. When I ask myself, do you really mean what you say? And I try to be as straightforward and honest as I can. Never lie to myself. And when I catch myself doing it, I just kind of laugh it off and try to grow from it. And I've had some hardships doing it, being overly honest with people, telling them how I truly feel, being downright ornery to some people, but not feeling like it's ornery. I feel like it's honesty, and honesty can appear to be hostile for, if you're telling a person how you truly feel. And so my point there being that we have to have checks and balances as to how we behave and how we treat each other. The little white lies that we tell aren't always harmful, so long as you're not hurting someone's feelings. And all of these things, each person interprets differently. Each one of us has a different heart, a different feeling, a different emotional stance on what it means to be a good human and fulfill that role that we all so desperately desire, which is the role of a happy human. And when you break it all down, that's really what we're after. When I'm in a happy moment, I embrace that. When I'm in a sad moment, I embrace that, remembering that that's the roller coaster of life and that I will return to a happy moment. Sometimes I wish I could just go out and speak to the world on these things. That I wish I could talk to everyone and say, hey, you can be happy if you choose to be happy. But then I start laughing at myself and saying, no, you just sound like all the rest of these charlatans. Not that I'm a charlatan, but many of the people, and not all these speakers are charlatans, but a lot of them are just trying to sell a book or tell you what you need to do to be happy, and I find that to be very arrogant, and each individual needs to find out what to them makes them truly happy, and only you can find that. And perhaps you can get a counselor or a close friend or someone who can work with you as an individual. But typing a few paragraphs to someone over the internet, or taking a little class to boost your chakras or take you to the next level, these things are just annoyances at the very least. I'm going to make a separate video on that. I've been getting several emails from these people who claim to be these, they're going to find your purpose in life, and it's just, it's something you need to do for yourself if you want to. And I heard someone claim earlier I can't remember the speaker, I won't say his name, it was just some random guy I was listening to that I don't really listen to much, and he speaks on a lot of kind of conspiracy stuff, but also self-improvement, and he was saying that I don't know, people, that there's different kinds of people. There's two types of people. There's ones that choose to seek knowledge and to be seekers of truth. And then those who do not want that, who do not want to learn, who have no desire whatsoever to approach subjects with any type of conversational ability. The people who, when you bring up anything that seems out of the ordinary or out of the realm of what's on television or what's going on in the news, they just clam up and lose it. And there are a lot more of them than there seem to be of us. Us meaning that I claim to might be one of those people who tries to be deep in my subjects, but I find that going too deep, and this is an important point if I could leave on anything, going too deep with your subjects and getting too in depth, getting way too into the symbolism and the deep, deep, deep meanings can be really useful for understanding the archetypes of life. But it can be very detrimental if you get wrapped up in it to the point where you can't have a normal conversation with a neighbor or a friend. To where every time somebody says, let's go to the park, all you can talk about is how the Illuminati is going to take over the world. Or every time somebody brings up the universe, all you can talk about is, how the chakras work, and you have all these claims laid out to how the world works, and these systems break down quickly upon scrutiny. And that's just my opinion. But it's a difficult line to walk, because I find that having these beliefs helps a lot of people. And they adhere to these, but some of them just are like a facade. And I guess people have to decide for themselves what they're willing to endure as far as what people are claiming is the truth. Many of these people claiming to be truth fighters and, warriors for the cause, and they're going to battle the system. I think we need that, and I think we need those people. And so I give respect to those who do it in a respectable way. I guess a good metaphor for that would be the people who film cops doing unjust things and post that on the internet. It's great that we're capturing, these things so police are held accountable, but then there are the ones who go out carrying all their guns on them and filming cops and then harassing the cops and doing it just to get themselves harassed, and they're filming it. And a lot of these people just look like idiots in the end. And I've found that the same thing goes for those who are seeking truth. There's true truthers who want to discuss the issues, and then there are those who are just out for the looks, and just out to, be seen and get views. And, I've sorted through all that trash. So anyway, we're not on our own. We're all together. There are a lot of us out here who understand that there is a depth to where you can find a truth within your heart and understand yourself and your world, but only through your own eyes. Now we can use what's happened in the past and what others have learned and the accrued knowledge, if you want to call it Akasha, the Akashic records, the collective knowledge of everything, the collective consciousness as Jung called it. You have to choose to tap into this. You have to choose to want it, and you have to ask for it. And if there's one thing I've learned in my 40 years now, it's that you don't get anything you don't ask for. And very few of us actually ask for what we want because we don't know what we want. And it goes back to the beginning, what I said. We want to be happy. So I'm going to leave you on that note. I'm not sure what else to say about it except for that you choose your happiness. You can choose to see the world as a cesspool, or you can choose to see it as a blossoming flower. As I stand here, it's almost dark, and it is dark, I guess. It's just that I get that ambient light from the city, yay. And there's a giant maple tree in front of me. It's the most beautiful thing. Oh, I'm sorry, it's an oak tree. And gorgeous, gorgeous tree, just perfect. And it just reminds me of the magnificence of existence. So thanks for coming along on the journey with me while I stand out here and ramble in the dark. And I found that I actually get a lot more out when I'm able to just stand here and freely move around, cameras on a tripod, speak my mind, and hope one day that I have enough collected in my mind to where I feel confident using this for something, using the knowledge and going in one direction so I can try to help better the world in any way possible. So I commend all of you who try to do the same, and all we can do is work together and follow our hearts. So namaste, everyone.